All right, so I got a special guest, future Arnold Classic USA champion, and I truly believe that. I really do believe that.
Oh, cool.
Samson Dauda. And the reason I say that, dude, is basically you fit the mold of the majority of Arnold Classic USA champions. When you look at Cedric and you look at Flex and Kevin Levrone, when I see you, that's the image of a bodybuilder I see. I see that perfect, symmetrical, balanced bodybuilder.
That's a big compliment, man. Thank you. Thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate that.
Of course.
Definitely love to be in the Arnold lineup anytime soon, man. Definitely put my hats off just for them to throw me in there, but definitely appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Of course. See, with the Olympia, I always look at it with the Olympia. It's so many dominant bodybuilders that it's kind of up until the last 3 years. It's been difficult to break in to win. Yep. You know, I mean, you had Lee Haney and Schwarzenegger and Ronnie and Dorian and these guys just Phil, and they just dominated. It was so hard to break into that #1 spot. But with the Olympia, I mean, rather with the Arnold Classic,
it was always different.
Yeah, it's just I could totally see Samson Dauda being, you know, in the next couple of years, the Arnold Classic champion.
Man, that would be amazing, man. That would definitely be a big coup for me. I won't complain about that one, definitely.
So before we jump into bodybuilding, like we already did, though, you got a Cane Corso, huh?
Yes, I
What's
do,
his name?
and he's always in my face. Cerberus.
What's his name?
Cerberus. As in Greek, Cerberus, as in the Greek mythological dog of hell.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I have.
Day 9.
Yeah, he's beautiful. I saw him on a couple of your videos.
Yeah, thanks.
I have 2 pit bulls, and I guarantee you, if I open up my door, Hercules is right outside the door waiting for me.
Oh, cool. He's actually called Hercules as well.
That's right, yeah.
As well, man.
Hercules and Lul, I got 2 pits. So they're getting old, though. 13 and 12, they're getting old, but, you know, they still got some energy, you know. How old is, I can't pronounce his name. How old is?
He's now, we just checked it yesterday, he was just coming into 11 months old.
Oh, he's a baby.
Oh, he's still a baby.
He's beautiful. Is he a natural guard dog? Like, is he?
Yeah, he's definitely growing into that. We've seen more and more of that as he gets older. I mean, they normally naturally guard breeds anyway,
right?
So they just have that mentality for it.
Right.
But now, you know, you saw seeing him as he's growing now, and he's coming into that, and the things he does, you kind of think, God damn, really? Wow, okay. Don't need to train that into him at all. You know, he just naturally does that.
Do you have trouble with maybe strangers or people that he doesn't know coming over?
No, because the thing is, he's so friendly. Like he's one of the most friendly dogs you can ever meet.
Okay.
But for some reason, we'll be sitting there. One time, he would just run straight to the window. He's on guard. He's like, what the hell? And then you go out and you go look and you see there's someone walking downstairs or something like that. Okay. But he just has that instinct where he's friendly as anything with people, and he's never been aggressive at all. But at the same time, you can see him constantly. We walk out the park, and he's constantly looking. He'll sit there and he's just looking and watching everywhere, and he's just like, wow, okay, you know.
Yeah, that's his instinct. That's it.
Yeah.
See, my guys are the worst watchdogs in the world. They look the part. They look mean.
Yeah.
But they will let anybody in the house. I mean, I have Hercules is about 90 pounds, which is pretty big for a pit bull, right?
Wow.
So one day I'm sleeping and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I hear 2 kids in the street about to fist fight, right outside my house. So I wake up and I look out the window and I'm like, all right, I'll give them 5 minutes. If they don't get out of here, I'll go outside or call the cops or whatever. This motherfucker slept through the whole thing. Useless, just useless. Anyway, so what I wanted to say was basically, who inspired you to get into bodybuilding when you were a kid?
The thing is, you know, that I came in bodybuilding late. You know, I never was like, bodybuilding wasn't even on my radar.
Really?
Just like everybody else, we watch Arnold, we watch the movies and stuff like that, but bodybuilding just never in my radar. Throughout my whole teens to my 20s, it wasn't in my radar. And it literally, when I got to my late 20s, I think I was about 28. You know, actually probably a little bit sooner, because I started going to the gym, and then obviously that was the first time I sort of looked into that word, but not actually in depth, just kind of like glanced over and go, okay, you know.
Right.
But it's when I got to that my late 20s that we kind of think, okay, when finally, you know, I met my partner in the gym, and she was saying to me that, look, you got potential to actually do bodybuilding. You can, you know, you're really symmetrical. You got a real physique for it.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, I didn't take it seriously at all because I was too big. I was playing other sports. I was playing basketball, then I was playing rugby, and I was more into like all the other team sports and everything else. So
Yeah, you're a natural athlete then.
yeah, you know. So,
Right.
but bodybuilding never, it was just never there, you know.
Mm.
So kind of like looked into it, and when guys at my rugby team started telling me the same thing when we were in the changing rooms, like, I'll strip off, and they'll look at me and go, "God damn, bro, have you ever thought about getting competition?"
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, come on, man, you know what? Like, come on, man, I'm a man's man. I'm not gonna wear pants on stage and all those
Dude,
stuff, you know.
yeah,
You know,
that
so
I
you kind
know.
of like you play it off like that. So I remember like it comes to the time where it was almost like something you heard so often that you kind of think, okay, you know what? Let me just have a look. What's this whole thing about? You know. And
Mm-hmm.
then so looked at it and go, okay, you know, I'll give it a go. And this was back in 2014. You know, so it wasn't that long ago. And I was like, okay, I'll give it one show a try.
Yeah.
And we basically decided, okay, you know what, let's just train harder for it. I didn't even die for that show. We just literally train
Yeah.
like a bodybuilder for once.
See, I fucking hate bodybuilders like that. Yeah, because I only did like 4 local shows and I had to diet my ass off.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, but that's how you know that's how you know you're destined to be a bodybuilder because it just you know. So if you started at 14, when did you get your pro card?
I've literally got my pro card 2017.
Yeah, I mean that's it's written in stone. You're going to be a bodybuilder if you have that kind of genetics.
You know what I mean? Like it was a weird one because you know, like you saw, I play different sports and all my different sports. You kind of play and you get to a stage, you be like, yeah, you know what? I know that I'm not gonna go pro. I'm not gonna take it seriously after a certain stage.
Mm-hmm.
But bodybuilding, it kind of came to the point where it came to the right part of my life where I was now looking for, okay, you know what? I want to be serious about something. I want to really dedicate myself into something.
Right.
And then when bodybuilding came along, it was like, you're not too old to start this sport. You actually coming in, you know, quite at the right time.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so you're trying to tell me that well, other sport by the time you're at late 20, you're done. You're ending your career.
Right.
But bodybuilding is like this the beginning of it. So I'm like, what? You really telling me that if I really dedicate myself, I can actually take this to a long way. And you know, people were like, yeah, you know, you got real potential for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, hey, well, let's give it a go, you know.
Yeah.
So did a few local shows. I mean, it's one of those cases where you do a few local shows and you just kept winning each show and winning everything.
So your first show, your first show in 2014, you didn't diet for.
I didn't diet for that show, man. I just literally switched my training to actually start training like a bodybuilder. That was
right.
It.
And how did you do in that show?
Oh, I wonder what this actually because what happened, right? You know, like you have like the classes, you got like the novice class for like first timers, guys I've never competed before. So my idea was, you know what? Even then, I just wanted a trophy. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'll do that class and just see how I get on, and then see if this thing is really for me. Because you gotta remember, at this point, I was a really shy dude. You know, I'm not people. I'm like very introverted. I don't do public. I don't do like standing in center of attention at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know how I was gonna react being on stage and basically my pants. You know, I didn't know how literally I didn't know how I was gonna take it. So it was basically throw me in deep and let me see what happens.
Right.
So when we did the first local show, it was basically just going in with a novice, and we were backstage. I remember we were backstage. We were trying to strip off after we'd done all the work and everything else, and it took me like 20 minutes to strip off to actually take my clothes off. You know, everybody else was all pumping up, getting ready, and I was standing there going, oh, I don't know, and they had to talk me into it. Like, come on, man, we gotta go. So kind of like did that, and I remember being in the hall, taking my clothes off, and I felt the whole hall went quiet, and I was like, oh crap. You know, that whole point of, oh man, not for me, what the hell is going on? So we walked up on stage, and the minute we walked on stage, it felt like a light switch went off, and he just sunk straight into it. You know, confidence came out of nowhere, everything came out of nowhere, and I was like, okay. So we did the novice, and we kind of won that first thing in the morning of that show, and I was like, yes, you know what, yeah, this was great, this is cool, yeah, I'm happy, yeah, this is what I worked for. And then I remember the promoter of the show going, kid, you know what? I want you to jump in with the men, jump in with the open guys, you know, like this because I think you can do real well.
Right.
So he was like, we stayed to the end of the night to jump in with open guys. So I'm backstage and I'm pumping up with literally guys I'm looking at been doing for 20 years, like really veterans of the sport.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, man, oh man, this is way off my league. And I remember one of the guys I was watching the show came up to me backstage and he said to me, like, bro, I really think you're gonna take the overall. I'm like, are you kidding? I was like, you can't, man. Are you serious? You see the guy? And he goes, trust me, man. I really think that you got something there. So we go on the stage with open guys, and we did the whole round after round and everything else. And then the results came out, and they called me, and I won that class as well. So for me, it was like, so from that point on, it was almost like, okay, it's not just a hobby. It's something that you gotta now really look into taking seriously.
Now, wait, now how much cardio did you do for that show?
Nothing. You gotta understand, like, it's you gotta, like, I didn't look. We're talking about like literally, okay. Even like, because I was working at the time full time as well, and I didn't have any idea much of the food side of anything. He just like, look, throw me in the gym, tell me what I can do, and I'll do it until I drop. And this was my mentality. So when it was the first time, we go from like training just kind of like a normal gym guy, just sort of like just casual. So okay, now training intensive, every muscle group, push it to the limit. I remember I trained so hard for that show, I actually fell ill towards 2 weeks before the show. You know, because I pushed myself to the limit I've never done before.
Right.
And that just seemed to kind of got my body responding in a way that I never really did. So we were pushing so hard that we didn't do cardio. We didn't need to do cardio. We didn't do cardio. Even the diet, we didn't really even like play around with the diet. I remember that Heath week was basically, I had to call one of my friend he was a prime bodybuilder. He was one of the UK's top bodybuilder at the time. And saying like, what do I do the week before a show? Like, what am I supposed to do? And even then, he told me then that, oh, you do realize you got to get tan. And I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah. I was like, what, I thought he was joking. I'm like, yeah, he's trying to pull one over me. I'm like, well, I'm a black guy. What do you mean I got to get attacked? And he was like, no, I'm being serious. I'm like, yeah, he's bullshit. I had to go on the internet and Google it to check to make sure.
Really,
really?
I
was like, oh, I didn't know any of that. And he's telling me, oh, see how to dry out and all that stuff. And I'm thinking, I don't, this is all like crazy, voodoo stuff for me, So we kind of did the whole water loading and everything else and kind of like try it out for the show. And, it just kind of like just continued and everything just seemed to just at that last point and you kind of come up on stage. And, I look back at it now and didn't realize what those little steps at the time, what facts he didn't put in front of me. Well, at the time, it was just literally like, okay, I'll train, let's go.
Yeah, man. That, like I said, that's the Phil Heath story. He was a basketball player. His friends once just said, jump in and he won every amateur show. That's how you know you're destined. I take my hat off to guys who spend 10, 12 years trying to get their pro card.
100%.
But it's very difficult. Now it's going from college to the NFL.
Yeah.
And now you're a bottom tier pro. I have a lot of friends that turn pro and, they're doing 212 and they're getting smoked in 212 and so on and so forth. It's still an accomplishment, but as a future making a living at it, not so much.
It's a long stretch.
Yeah.
But then, you know what? He also, like, for my one, like, he really gave me a hit as well because when I first did the amateurs and I was doing well with shows, I was pretty much at the point where I was going into any show thinking, yeah, I know I'm going to win. I'm going to be top call out. It was like, you sort of, it's not ego, but you start building your confidence to the point where
absolutely
you just kind of finish. So when we did got a pro card and then we did our first pro show, which was EVLS Prague in 2018, and I think we have Rowley, Nathan, Lucas Ozodell, quite some top guys in that lineup.
Yeah.
So,
who won that? Rowley won that, right?
Rowley won that.
Yeah.
So I was going to my pro debut and I'm thinking, okay, you know what, big show, yeah, I get it, okay. I just want to see how well I can do, standing with those guys, So I did that show and I was like, okay, we did the first call out and I was in first call out as well. I don't think, at this point, it's securing that mindset.
And that was your first pro show?
Yeah. So I came fifth on that show.
Yeah.
So at this point, your mindset is like, okay, I'm already up here. So then we then had a second show, which was like 2 weeks before. And now I had 24 guys in that show. And I think the biggest name in that show was Max Charles.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, you know what? Come on, man. This one, I got to be in there for the win or something like that. And I got my ass handed to me.
Oh, wow.
And that point was like a
wake up call.
He was literally, that point, he was like, okay, now you almost like you needed it at a time. And it was a big wake up call. And I realized, okay, you know what, there's here and there's like.
Yeah. There's definitely tiers to bodybuilding, even though even though it is not a ranking system, there's definitely tiers in
There's
bodybuilding.
definitely tiers to it, you know, and that was the first time you sort of realized that.
And that was, were you working with anybody as far as a coach in those first 2 shows? No. So not only did you take 5th, you trained on your own.
Trained on my own. It's always been me and my girl. Like she basically, because she got me into sport, and right from the get-go, we started learning together. She started doing research, you know, watching shows like Dave Palumbo, you know, RX, watching, like reading about diet, reading about everything else. We were basically asking guys, like I was asking guys I knew about the chemical side of it, and just kind of like we were just mixing our knowledge in, and kind of like just doing everything ourselves. So when we were going from show to show to show, we were basically just kind of expanding our own horizon, kind of mixing things up to do it that way.
Okay.
Know? So it kind of just carried us to the point where we started learning my body, and we realized, okay, if we do this seems to work for you, this not so much. And we made a lot of trial and error through the whole time, but we basically started figuring out, how do we kind of get you to grow? How do we get you, you know, shredded? How do we get it? And we just kind of learned through that whole you know, process of it. So yeah, so it was.
But now you're training with John Meadows, right?
Yes.
Is he giving you your training and your diet, or just?
Yep.
He's doing everything. Okay.
Yes, he is.
I've never tried any of his workouts. I mean, you know, I've never, you know, I could, meaning that by that, go online and follow one of his YouTube things. But I hear it's intense and it's very structured and detailed.
Yeah, and this is, I think for me, that seems to work a lot better for me, because I like the whole intensive workout. I like the idea of structure, knowing exactly what I'm meant to be doing and how. Like, it's almost like athlete mentality. You give me a list and say, okay, I want you to do this.
Right.
And I take it and I'm like, okay, it's done. That's it. And I go off and I do that. So it always seems to, you know, work a lot better for me when it's just like, look, this is what you're doing. Go out and do it. Just get it done, come back. And, you know, for me, it just works out a lot better that way.
And you see improvements with John? I'm sure you do.
Oh, yeah.
And how much do you weigh now?
I'm 300 pounds now.
And how tall are you?
6 foot.
Yeah, that's perfect. I mean, that's fantastic. Do you ever notice that the guys that are the best trainers in bodybuilding were always seem to have been the lowest tier pro bodybuilders?
Yeah.
So like, I think that's all sports, honestly.
I think that is.
So, you know, you look at the top trainers, you look at, you know, Farah, and you look at Aceto, and you look at John Meadows, Charles Glass, Dave Palumbo. Dave Palumbo never even turned pro.
Yeah.
And it's always the guys. And I think my opinion is that the guys that aren't gifted, where they don't have to just cross the T's and dot their I's and detail everything, those guys aren't good trainers. The guys that have to do that to kind of move up in bodybuilding or in any sport become the best trainers.
Yep.
You know,
it's true, because it's like, you know, I think it's a mentality. Some people, like someone said to me, some people are athletes. They're just born to be athletes.
Yeah.
Some people have to, you know, wing and bang and bend their ways through it. And for them, they learn a lot more. You know, they might not be gifted with genetic potential to be that athlete, elite athlete thing, but they learn so much for the level they go to, that they have so much knowledge at the end of it. Yeah. That you can trust them to, they end up being amazing coaches.
Yeah.
You know?
It's very rare that, I apologize. Go ahead.
No, that's it. Yeah.
It's very rare you see a top bodybuilder become a great trainer. Very, and that's in any sport. Like I mean, in basketball, Phil Jackson was a decent basketball player, but he was an amazing coach, you know? I mean, in baseball, Joe Torre was a decent ball player, but a great, can you go down the list, you know, even in fighting. And I'm sure in UK football, it's the same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah. How'd you hook up with Hostel and Fuad?
So, you know, had the whole South Korean thing.
I got my shirt on too, by the way.
Yeah, I see that, man. Yeah, man, representing. Love it. You know? So, yeah, because, you know, we were in South Korea last year when we flew off to South Korea for the show. I ended up getting canceled, and then all the whole...
Yeah, that was going to be my next question.
Yeah. So basically, it was during that whole period and that craziness that I did a Hostile interview with Hostile and everything else. And
I remember that. I watched that.
Story.
Yeah, I watched that.
He'd heard the story and everything else. And then he called me. I remember he called me back the next day, and he said to me, like, bro, like, I thought, ain't you signed with nobody? I was like, nah, bro, this is all me. It's just me on my own. He's always been like that. Because at that point, you know, I was just at the point where, you know, bodybuilding is basically, there's a hobby, as a side project from my normal job. So I would just carry on doing it because I love doing it, you know.
Sure.
So when he came up to me and he's like, bro, man, you know what? You really can go far if you have the right support and backing. I was like, hey, okay, sure. And, you know, and he really stepped up and he supported me at that point. And I was like, yeah, you know, definitely. You know, appreciate it more.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What were you, or do you still work full time?
No. Literally, it was, you know, my life literally got flipped upside down throughout that whole period. Because
That's
as soon as I started with Hostile, literally, I think two or 3 days later, I lost my job. So it
wow.
was, yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, I lost my job for being
So
in South
that
Korea as everything.
my grandmother used to say, one door closes and another door opens. You know,
It's exactly that, you know,
Fuad is
exactly that.
becoming a major force in the bodybuilding industry. I mean,
Yep.
not only hostile, but him himself. I mean, his podcast is just destroying every other podcast. And what makes I've always was a fan of his, because when I started loving bodybuilding, he was started turning pro. He just turned pro, and he was like the cool guy with the mohawk, and I can relate because we were like the same age and stuff.
Yeah.
But what he's done with his podcast, and he's gained a lot of respect, especially in the last couple of weeks, more so because he helped out that kid. He was on that 15-year-old kid's by Will something or other.
Yeah. And he got him
Yeah.
training with him and everything.
And I mean, and he helped that kid. And I mean, he didn't have to do that. I don't know any other bodybuilder that would do that.
No.
I don't know
And this is
anybody else.
look. I've seen met a lot of guys in this sport, and I can tell you what, man. There's so many genuinely nice guys, so many genuine guys that will go out their way support you. Like I'm saying, like with me, he had no reason whatsoever to come back and say, bro, you know what? I want to have you on my team. I want to support you in that way. Like none whatsoever.
Yeah, well, he didn't have a reason. You're good.
but you know what I mean. But I've had loads of guys have said that before, and you know, oh, but good luck, you know, and that's the end of it.
Right.
So to have someone that has opportunities to know that I can help you, but genuinely just did it, you know, because look, he really is that genuine guy, and he's so damn hardworking.
Oh yeah.
He's look. I was in South Korea, and I think the time difference was like it was midnight over there in the States, and it was like mid-afternoon over there, and he's there saying, "Bro, you want to do an interview? Like, you want to come on the podcast?" I'm thinking, "Bro, are you not sleeping?
Yeah,
When do you sleep?
Yeah.
Literally, when do you sleep? He is on 24 hours.
Yeah, those guys, those type A personality guys, they don't sleep. They, very rare, which is opposite from bodybuilders. Like Dave Palumbo from the interviews I saw doesn't sleep either.
Yeah, wow, it's crazy.
Yeah. Now tell me what happened in South Korea.
So basically, what happened was it first started off is we were started prepping for 2020 for the Arnold Classic in South America. That was like, okay, before the year went crazy, that was the show. So we started prepping January, and then obviously the whole COVID started in, and then we're like, okay, you know what? We just carry on prepping anyway, keep it nice and easy. When this whole thing is over, we'll pick a show, we just jump on it. Okay. We really know that it was going to last as long as it did.
Right.
We carried on anyway. And then came into about August, we had a Tampa Pro.
Right.
So we were like, okay, right, we're going to go for the Tampa Pro. So went to the embassy, got all our documents, got everything else to fly to the States for the Tampa Pro. Okay. So Thursday before the show, after prepping all year and everything, got to the airport and got denied entry to the US. You know, said because of the whole COVID thing, nobody's allowed to travel. I was like, you know, had everything after everything went through speaking to the embassy, just no, it wasn't happening. So I remember at that point, you know, you're feeling completely at this point devastated. You're thinking, what the hell? If I just throwing away a whole year, just, you know, for nothing.
Yeah.
So we kind of went home. We sat back and looked at what other show was on the list. And South Korea was basically in 2 weeks' time after that. So take the fact this was literally the weekend of the Tampa Pro. After just coming home and just realizing, man, you ain't going to Tampa. You're not competing, and you know what you're gonna do. We basically said, okay, we called the promoters in South Korea and going, guys, what are the criteria do I need to meet to come to South Korea and do this show? And they obviously told us that, look, if you come into South Korea, you gotta quarantine in a government hotel for 2 weeks before you get allowed out and come do the show. So we kind of sitting there and we're like, okay, what's the quarantine facility like? Like, you know, in my head, we're all thinking the same thing, going, okay, it's probably just like a hotel. You know, you can still go around the hotel. You probably still order takeout. You can still do, you know, normal things, and you probably might have a crappy hotel gym, but it's still enough to get you by.
Right.
So I'm calling South Korean embassy and I'm trying to find out information. And the more we found out is it's nothing like that. You know, you're literally in a room. They lock you up in a room, and that's you for 14 days straight. There's no delivery service. There's no food service. They provide your meals, 3 meals a day,
Oh my
and
God.
that's you, for 14 days straight. So we're kind of sitting there, we're thinking, yeah, that's an impossible. There's,
Right.
2 weeks from a show, that it's not gonna happen. Just
Yeah.
So we already about to scrap it off, and we kind of sat back and go, you know what, man, we've come such a long way. Surely, is it doable? Is it possible? So I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, okay, right. All I got to do is maintain my conditioning for 2 weeks.
Mhm.
Maintain the muscle I got. Okay. Is there a way of me doing that? Can I be able to push that in with doing home workouts and stuff like that with bands and everything I can find? We were like, okay, I can see that that's probably a little bit possible. All right. Food, how do I get along with food in that? We're like, okay, how much? We called the promoter and said, look, would they allow you guys to bring in nothing special, just rice and chicken?
Yeah, basic stuff.
Bringing in some basic stuff like that. They said that they were going to try. They'll do whatever they can. They'll speak to the embassy to try to source and say, look, this guy's an athlete. He requires this much.
Okay.
So we was like, okay, hopefully that'll do. But just in case, we were like, we froze so much food that we had here, put it in the freezer, froze it up, threw it all in the briefcase as much as we could.
Jeez.
I'm like, look, forget the clothes, forget everything else. I'm not going to need that. I'll just give me as much food as can fit in a briefcase as I can. So we did basically throw all that in there and said, okay, let's go. So jumped on the plane, literally 2 days later, jumped on the plane, flew straight to South Korea. Had to come off the airport, and you come off the airport, and it's like, you won't believe the scene. It's like literally you just been convicted of a crime and you're going to prison. It's like, what I mean? It's like interviews, why are you here? Why are you visiting? Who do you know? What's the reason for it? Like over and over and over and over. I mean, I had 7 interviews before I could even get out of the airport.
Oh my God.
So at that point, I'm exhausted. They throw you on the bus at the end of it, and they drive you to this hotel. They don't even give you. They literally just march you to the room, put you in there, lock the door, and okay, cool. See you in 14 days time.
My God, dude.
Yep, and that was pretty much it. And you're in there, and you're like, okay, well, this is what you signed up for. Start making yourself comfortable.
So what the hell did you do for 2 weeks?
Literally everything I could, So literally, I kind of had a regime of, okay, I wake up in the morning, cardio. I still got to do cardio. So what do? I was like, okay, look, I run on the spot. Just run on the spot for 30 minutes, get that burn in there. So did that for cardio every morning. With the food that they were bringing, I thought it was going to be something decent, man. It was like, the kind of food you get in airplane service, the little packet meals and stuff.
Yeah.
That crap. It was basically all that. So I was like, well, can't eat that. I have to go.
Were you with anybody or you were by yourself?
Oh, no, completely by yourself.
Oh my God, dude.
Completely on your own. No, so at this point, you got your family on freaking FaceTime and Skype calls, and you're literally trying to keep it down because the time difference is so different. When I'm awake, they're asleep. When I'm asleep, they're so I'm basically regimenting my day. So I train and do everything at night, and I sleep during the day, just so I can at least have people to talk to. So you kind of like regimen there. Then halfway through, I'm calling the promoter. They're saying the government service, they're not letting them deliver any food to me. They're like, no, they're not allowing us to bring any food to you. We can't bring any weights. We can't bring anything to you.
Jesus Christ.
So they're basically going back and forth with them, trying to negotiate something. So eventually, I think it was like I think it must have been 7 days in. I'm about to run out of food at this point.
Wow.
They basically let them send me a carton full of liquid egg whites.
That's it?
I'm yeah. So I'm like, okay, I got liquid egg whites and I got rice. That's diet. I guess that's a diet then.
That's it.
So we carried on with that, and we like, okay, we're just making it work.
Right.
I'm literally, if I'm not training, I'm eating. If I'm not eating, I'm sleeping. If I'm not sleeping, I'm playing PlayStation.
Yeah.
That was the whole. That was basically it. And they don't even. I mean, it's so isolated. You don't even get someone coming there to clean your room to change your sheets. You don't. You're completely isolated in that room for 14 days.
Wow.
So after we kind of going through all that, and you just kind of like keeping yourself sane and just getting and go back, because at this point you're looking at it like it's a challenge, but you don't know, go ahead, I can make it, let's go. So we kind of go into the whole process, and I'm thinking, okay, and it gets to like 14th day, it's about to you're about to conquer this, okay, over. The show promoter called me up and said, hey Sam, got bad news. Yeah, we're gonna have to postpone the show by another 2 weeks, because the government, South Korea, is going into lockdown.
My God, dude. Dude,
And so when
I would have just came home. I don't know what.
dude, believe me, I thought at that point that was the exact same thought that came into my mind on that phone. You know, I flipped out. I'm like, I can't believe this. You know,
Yeah.
so you know, we kind of. I remember getting that phone in the morning of the 14th day, and I was supposed to come in out of that hotel at that night. And so you wake up that morning thinking, yes, final day, I'm gonna be out. And then you get a
Right.
call like that, and it crushes your soul. Literally, just
Oh,
crushes it.
yeah, dude.
You know?
I don't know how you did it. How many guys were in the
So
actual show?
four,
Uh,
four. The other
were they
three were
all
South Korean.
they were all from
So
South
I was,
Korea?
yeah. So I was the only foreign guy that was actually willing to go through that mess to actually get there. You
And you
know?
came in second, right?
Yeah, yeah. So after
Did
everything, mine was coming second to the show.
did you think that you deserved first or
I mean, of course, everybody thinks that. You know, I would
yeah,
say
that's
it live
true.
if I
That's
sit
true.
down and I said, "Oh no, I didn't think that was supposed to be so." Of
Yeah,
course,
yeah, yeah,
everybody
yeah,
thinks
yeah.
that. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
but you just think, you know what? It is what it is. Just you carry on going. You build off of it. That's all you can do.
But you made it up in Spain.
Yeah, I mean, Spain was. I mean, you gotta understand after you prepping all the way to that point, and you've gone through all that notion.
Right.
At this point, most people are like, "Okay, that's it for me, man. I'm done. I can't do it. Keep going
Yeah, I don't
anymore.
know how you
I
did
can't
it, to
settle
be honest with you.
you know." So it's I think you know it's just that driving force. You know, I just feel like you know this is the year I got to show something. I really got to step up. You know,
Yeah.
and put my name on the block and say, "Look, I'm serious. This isn't bodybuilding isn't a game. It's actually
Right,
something I'm
right, right,
really
right.
passionate about."
So
So coming up from
you came in sixth
came in
and
fifth
oh,
in
fifth and
Spain.
oh, okay.
Yeah, you
Yeah, and
know
that lineup was stacked.
that lineup was really stacked. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so you can imagine that was like, okay, this was a heavy show. But for me, I think after going through South Korea and everything else, coming home and then being able to train in normal gym, do everything normally, I felt like, you know what, hell, okay, it's not anything because we had 5 weeks in between the shows. For me, I was like,
Right.
yeah, that's easy. This is not
Yeah,
gonna
this
big.
is
It's not
yeah,
gonna
right.
challenge
This
anymore.
is
This
nothing.
part is like, okay, you know, you know.
So
So
after
yeah,
Spain, you did another show too, right?
I did the British Grand Prix, which was 4 weeks after that.
That's oh
You
yeah.
know, and
By
at
that
that
point,
point,
you had to be completely burnt out.
at that point I was burnt out. At that point
Right.
now you could even tell my physique wasn't what it was.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I was completely the body just wasn't responding the same way.
Right.
I was completely burnt out. You know, I remember coming up that stage and we're looking at it and going, yeah, this is it. Because I was actually going to even do Romania the week after, you know, and I looked at it and I was like, nah, that's I get the message now. I get it. That's me. I'm done this year. I can't push anymore. That was me at my limit. So when you kind of stand back and look at it, going, that's a whole 10 months
Right.
straight of prep, full on prep for 10 months. So I was like, yeah, you know what, you can only push so far before it's just not happening.
Yeah, that's I don't know how you did it, especially with this year. Like so many bodybuilders, which is like, I'll just wait till 2021.
Yeah.
And how did you wind up doing in the British Grand Prix?
I think I don't remember, I came 8th or 7th, something like that.
Yeah, I remember watching it or seeing the results and saying to myself, because I knew the whole story because I had watched the interview and whatnot. And I said, if it would have, if it wasn't such crazy times and you weren't so burnt out, you would have definitely did a lot better.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you kind of like, you take it on the chin and you like, look, you learn, realize. And, at the same time, I kind of feel like it's unreal notion for me to see how much my body can take.
Yeah.
Because normally you get like a 16 weeks prep, and towards the end of 16 weeks, you're feeling like crap. You feel like, I don't want to do this anymore. Try doing that for a year. Try doing that for almost a year.
That's
so
great.
you kind of, so it sort of gives you an idea. Okay, how much can your body truly take? So from that point on, you kind of, you look at a regular prep from that point on. You're thinking, am I ever going to look at a regular prep and thinking, oh man, this is going to be a long prep again?
Yeah, right.
Come on, man. After that, it's like,
yeah, it's nothing. But now, what do you got planned for 2021?
So obviously working with John, and we kind of looking at it like, okay, with the state of the world right now, I really want to do a show in the US. I really want to come to the States to do a show.
Yeah.
And I know for what I obviously want to improve my physique way before then. So whatever we're gonna decide. We haven't picked the show yet, but whatever we're gonna decide, it will probably be after June. Whatever show we pick up after June. So, but we obviously, with the way the world is, you can't predict anything. You can't.
Yeah, I know.
It's nothing set in stone, so it just makes it all that much more harder. But if things go to plan and things start to get better, then I'm hoping to get on stage within that July, August time somewhere.
Do you have any idea what shows it's going to be during that time or no?
I don't even know what shows, because I think all the shows are kind of pushed back now.
Yeah.
Towards that point, so you kind of like, okay, I don't know what shows will be. It might be Chicago, it might be Tampa, it might be. literally, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, we just have to kind of see what happens, and
They're all going
when
to
the
be in
things
Florida anyway.
exactly.
They're all,
So
yeah,
you know,
yeah. I
yep,
know the New York Pro is in Florida. I think the
yep,
Indies in Florida. So they're all going to
yep.
be
So
in Florida anyway. But here's a question: what bodybuild, what young up and coming bodybuilders do you like? Which guys do you see going far?
oh man, well,
I know
I
there's a
mean, I was
lot.
big,
There's a
there's
lot
a
of
lot.
talent. A lot.
There's a lot. I mean, me coming up, you know, I always obviously love Flex Reader, big fan.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
Sean Ray, another one. That was like
Well,
those were physique.
Sean Ray was the guy that I admired the most because I'm only barely 5'8",
Yeah.
and he
So
was never a mass monster.
no.
So, you know, and I remember he came in second once against Dorian Yates, and I was in high school, and he was the guy that I looked at and like I wanted to be like.
Yeah.
I wanted
Yeah.
to be like him. Obviously, it never happened, um, but today, the young bodybuilders today, what do you anybody?
I don't know. For some reason, I'm looking at them and I can think about most of the guys. I see the guys like mostly in classic, like Terrence Ruffin in classic for me.
Yeah, classic
These
stack
are some,
too.
you know what I mean. These are the physiques that I look at and I go, wow. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Sean
yeah.
Clarita, another one that I
Yes, yes. He
wow.
lives right by me. I met him a bunch of
Oh,
times. We used to
really?
train at the
Man, dude,
same
I'm a
gym.
big fan.
He's
I'm a
another
big
guy that for years he had no endorsement for
Yep. And
years.
then all of you see,
And
and for me,
he is the nicest guy you're ever gonna meet in your life. I mean, the nice
wow,
him and his wife, the nicest people, you know.
wow.
And he looked this year, he just wrecked shit. He looked amazing.
Yep. And you know what I mean? That for me, I look at that and that inspires me.
Yeah,
That I look and go, that is what I'm talking about. That is a
yeah,
physique that, you know, even his work ethic, I see him training video, I see where he lives. I'm thinking, God damn, what the hell are you pushing that? I mean, you barely weigh the same, you barely weigh
yeah.
that.
He's strong as
And
hell. Yeah,
he's strong as
absolutely.
hell,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
he's
and
only
then,
five two.
wow,
And the
he
guy,
crazy,
yeah, and
you know.
he to me he's a smaller version of you because he has that
Yeah.
same, you know, tapered,
Big table.
beautiful
Yep.
physique and whatnot, you
Yep.
know.
Dude, I
Um,
would give anything to have that muscularity and maturity in his muscles, man. Believe me, because
and
I look at that and
yeah,
go,
it's
wow.
only a matter of time with you, and I really truly believe that it's only a matter of time because now you got John Meadows, and how old are you now?
I'm 34 now.
Yeah, so you know, 35 to 40 is usually in your prime, and that's when you put in the most
True.
muscle. So it's only a matter of time, man. I really that when like when was the first time? I think the first time I started looking at your videos is when Fuad signed you.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
I started looking at your videos and whatnot, and I was still watching you posing on Instagram, and I was like, yeah, this guy basically is flawless. All he needs is a little more size. And now you're
Yeah.
telling me you're 300 pounds, so I don't think that's a problem anymore. So as far as I'm concerned, you're one of the guys that's going to be dangerous. You're going to be dangerous in the open class. I think Nick Walker is going to be dangerous in the open
Yep.
class.
Yep.
Obviously, James is going to be. He's
Yep.
forget it. You
He's
know,
already dangerous.
he's already there. You know, and there's a bunch of good guys coming up that look amazing. Which leads me to my next question. There's a lot of older guys. As much as I admired the older guys, they kind of, and obviously I'm not going to name any names, but they kind of, for lack of a better term, kind of shit on the new guys. You know, say they don't work as hard, they don't come in as hard, they don't, so on and so forth.
You know
What's your
what?
take on that?
I really bet to differ on that. Believe me, because we've seen these
Exactly.
guys train. We've seen
Yeah.
them train. Because I always say, like, look, nobody ever becomes a pro bodybuilder by mistake.
Right.
We all train goddamn hard.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
know, when you see a physique with that much muscle and that much on stage, it
right.
doesn't happen by just lifting baby weights. You know?
Yeah.
So when people start saying, "Oh, they don't train as hard," I'm like, really?
That's bullshit.
So, okay, why don't you go have a training session with them and then find out? You know. So I was laughing when they say that. I was laughing. Go right, okay, sure.
I hear it all the time from the older bodybuilders, and the problem is the older bodybuilders, the greats are saying it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The greats, and it's like, like I come on. But same thing like we were talking about before. I think these guys. I think it's just every generation thinks the next generation sucks.
Yeah, and he is that.
I'm an electrician, right? Now I'm a sewer worker, but I was on a job site, and this is when I was an electrician's apprentice. and I was on a job site, and LeBron James just broke into the NBA.
Oh, wow.
And there was a guy there. He was a steam fitter, and he was steam fitter, I think so, or a plumber. I don't remember. And he was like, LeBron James ain't shit. Wilt is still Wilt Chamberlain was the man. Wilt is still Chamberlain. And I'm like, it's just the same crap that every generation does.
Yep.
That's all it is. And I think it's the same thing, man.
They will always find something to pick out in the next generation. You just take it on chin as what it is.
And the truth of the matter is, and this is, I mean, I'm 44. The truth of the matter is, my opinion is every generation of athlete gets better. They don't get what. First of all, they're not even Kevin Levrone, when he made his comeback, said these guys are not nearly as
same way as.
Well, yeah, they said these guys are much bigger.
Yeah,
and the guys, when in the 90s and in the 80s, very few of them had striated glutes. Now, if you step on stage, you would need
you're done. You're not even in there.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, I always laugh because people always seem to be the same thing that comes up time and time. Oh, the guys in the 90s are more shredded. They're more this, more that. I'm like, okay, cool. You have all the top guys. Okay, get them out of the way. So the Ronnie, the Sean, get them out of the way. But then look at the rest of them and compare them to now. If you ain't coming there striated, top to toe striated now, who the hell looks at you? And then on top of that, you got to be as full as hell.
Yeah.
You got to be dry as anything, and you got to get. So you look at it going.
And you need mass. You need, like, back then, if you were 300 pounds, that was a big deal. Now every open bodybuilder is 300 pounds.
No, every open bodybuilder is 300 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, cool.
It's unbelievable. Akeem Williams is another guy that he lives in Jersey now. It's funny, I grew up in Brooklyn, and he's from Brooklyn, and we both live in New Jersey now. And he's like, he goes to, I think his wife manages the gym I used to go to or something like that.
Yeah.
He walks in, and I would, we're like, oh shit, Akeem Williams, and I would shoot the shit with him. And I think he's like 320 or something like that. And I'm like, dear God, he's just enormous. Just, I was like, I don't care, man. I mean, listen, those guys back then were not that big.
No, but then you know what? New generation, we always give respect and just like say nothing.
Right.
You almost like, you had your uncle that always goes back, oh, back in my day. In my day.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And you never go back and go, oh man, shut up, and what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You always just kind of give respect and go, all right, yeah, okay, all right.
That's what it is. Yeah.
And that's all you can do. You just like, okay, acknowledge the respect and just say, look, yeah, that's what it is. Just and leave it at that, because anything else just becomes back and forth and it doesn't take you anywhere. So you're just kind of like, yeah, okay.
The funniest one is when they talk about the bubble guts, and I'm like,
oh,
the bubble guts in the 90s. I remember admiring the guys in the 90s. I remember admiring the guys in the 90s so much that I wanted a bubble gut. I wanted that big stomach, just like everybody else. I remember I went to the Olympia in 2001, and Craig Titus, he wasn't competing, but he was signing autographs. He was sitting down and selling his merch and signing autographs, and his stomach was on his lap, like literally on his lap. And I'll say it. You don't have to say it, but when Lee Priest talks about, not working as hard and the bloated stomachs, if you ever saw him on his off season, my God, he looked like a butterball turkey. And I'm just saying, John from Serious Silliness, Samson Dauda had nothing to say. He gets so fat. And I don't know, whatever. I don't know.
But I mean, the thing is, like, people that seem to underestimate the amount of size that we carry now, and they underestimate the amount of food that is required to carry that size. And
that's right.
And the thing is, remember, the judges set the criteria for how they want the athletes to look. If they want more size, they pick the guys. They start picking the bigger guys. Guess what? Everybody is gonna go for size.
Right.
If you start picking more aesthetic guys, everybody will try to be more aesthetic. So that's what set the criteria where you want the sports to go. So don't shit on the guys that are trying to basically keep up by doing whatever they can, because they're only trying to follow where the trend is moving to. You know. So
it's always the top guys. I don't hear the John Meadows saying it. I don't hear the Charles Glass saying it. I don't hear any of those guys that are in the mix saying it.
And this is it.
Yeah. I don't hear any of those guys saying it, but whatever. But so one other No, actually, I have two more questions if you don't mind. You got to go? Or you?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
All right. So gun to your head after Big Ramy, who do you think is going to be the new Mr. Olympia?
Oh man, you know what? This is the first time where I genuinely look at the Mr. Olympia title and I think I can't predict.
I
I
know.
genuinely cannot
I
predict.
know.
You know, it's don't get me wrong. Obviously, Big Ramy is a big freak and everything else, but we all know that he's been inconsistent.
Yes, I say
So
this all the time.
you can't guarantee he's going to be just as good next
He
time.
is.
You
He was
know,
more as great as he is, as great as he looked.
yeah,
He comes in inconsistent. He's like he could lose it
yeah,
next year easily.
exactly,
You
exactly.
know.
So so when you're looking at the title now, it's so slippery. It's
Yeah.
I don't think like I was saying. I remember when the Olympia title when they obviously won the Olympia, and I was thinking, you know what? I don't think we're gonna have an era where one person is gonna hold a title for more than 5 years. I
No,
don't think.
this. I
I
don't
just
think.
for some reason I don't see anybody that could come in and hold the title consistently for 5 years straight
Yeah.
because it just seems to be the gap between one athlete and the other is so narrow right now that I
Mhm.
don't see that happening. You
I
know,
know. I
but
know.
I mean, prove me wrong.
There's.
Somebody might come out of the woodwork and just blow everyone away. But
Yeah.
as it stands right now, I don't really see it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, everybody said there's a large consensus of James being the next Mr. Olympia. And
Yeah.
it's quite possible because he has the mass. But, if a guy like you or a guy like Rafael Brandao puts the size on that
Yep.
they need, I mean, you can't say that because
Can't say.
the symmetry and the shape is way different from James.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
this is it.
you
And
know
like
that's
that's just the way. I mean, that's the sport. I mean, the thing is, that's what makes it exciting right now, isn't
right.
it? It's the fact that you're not gonna go to a show where it's almost like you see them as Olympia, and you have to say, "Oh, predict top five," and everybody can just pretty much guess, "Okay, it's gonna be him.
That's
They're gonna be
it.
top five
Yeah.
every year." But now you look at it and you go, "Tell me who's gonna be top five," and you're thinking, "Ooh, okay, this is a. I gotta really think about it because there's
Yeah.
so many guys
And
I'm
it
so
makes it
close
more
to."
exciting. Like you want to watch it
Exactly.
now.
Yep.
I mean, there were times, where I remember looking at my iPad laying in bed and, in 2011, 12, 13, Phil would come on. I'd look at Phil and shut it
I
off
say,
because like
yeah,
that was it.
that's the end of that.
And that's it,
Yeah.
And there were a couple of times, as great as Dorian was, that maybe he shouldn't have won, and as great as Ronnie was, that maybe he shouldn't have won. But they kind of just give it to him because he's that name bringing in that kind of money. But I think
Yep.
it's different now with the social media aspect and so on and so forth.
Exactly. There's
I think it's
so
completely
many
different.
factors to it. And it is that, there's just too many factors to the sport right now. And some
Yeah,
people might on, some people might not be. Everything's constant. It's just a constant change of flux of whatever is on call on stage. So I think it's really a lot harder to predict the shows now than it's
yeah,
ever been.
yeah.
I mean, if you look at the New York Pro now, you look at the lineup that going into the New York Pro. If you were to predict, okay, who is likely to win it,
That's
you
impossible.
stand there and go, ooh,
Yeah, I
that
don't
is
know.
very that exactly, and that's what makes it more fun. That also makes it
Yeah,
more like exciting for you to want to watch it.
yeah,
You know.
absolutely. There's a lot of good talent coming up, but there's a lot of talent coming out of the UK.
Yeah,
There's a
UK's
lot of
kind of
talent. There's right. There's you. There's James. There's Nathan and Mark Hector,
yep.
right? And then of course there's Zach Khan. I understand he's making a comeback. You,
Yes.
you
I mean, he
can't
would have
really
come back
sleep on
last
him
year.
because he's got
No,
mass. He's a big dude.
he has no mass,
Yeah,
and he would have come back last year if it wasn't for everything that happened. I
yeah,
think he was
yeah,
planning on doing the bridges last year
yeah.
before the whole
And,
thing went
and he's
crazy.
working with Dave Palumbo now.
Yes, he
Yeah,
is.
Dave's doing his diet. I was always a big fan of Zach because he was a monster and he had a great personality. He was funny, you
Yeah,
know.
Dak, he's crazy, but Dak is one of the nicest pros you could ever meet.
Oh
Believe
yeah,
me,
he's a
he's
good dude.
a nice dude. Oh my God. He's a
Hopefully one day I'll
funny,
have the honor of meeting
funny,
him.
nice dude, man.
Are you good friends with any of these guys, James or
Of
Hector?
course. I mean, do you gotta remember, we all ran through the amateur ranks together.
That's
You
right.
know,
That's right.
the
That's
British
right.
title was one thing that we all fought through the amateur ranks the whole time. So
Ah,
whatever
okay.
we're doing now on stage is what we've been doing since we were amateurs. So
Right,
we all
right.
know each other. We all know exactly, like, we know the process and what we've all built onto. So
Uh-huh.
now it's like, yeah, we just carry that British fight because it was like them shows was year after year after year, we all fighting for that British title.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's
yeah.
always that same thing. We're all in the open class and we're all fighting to win the open class and everything else. So it just seemed to be a continuation of that. But now it's just in the pro league and it's a bigger stage. That's what
Right,
it
right.
is. So
And
yeah,
how I hate, I know it's a tragic it was a tragic state last year, but how close were you with Luke Sandow?
You know, I probably wasn't as close as most of the other guys were, but
Right.
you know, for the time I met him, man, definitely, you know, what happened, I couldn't believe it. I mean, when it happened, I couldn't believe it. I was like,
No,
wow,
me neither. I mean, like I said, man, I don't know these guys. I just know them through social media and podcasts and
yeah,
whatnot. But that guy had it all. He had it all. He had the physique, he
yeah,
had the personality,
yep,
he had the heart, he had it all. He was like, I think what's his name even said, who's the guy that runs the IFBB? I forgot his name.
what Jimani,
Jim Madden even I did pretty even told him that, yeah, you could be Mr. Olympia like real soon.
yeah,
And
yeah,
when you look at his Arnold Classic, that Arnold Classic,
yeah,
where he came in third, I think, third or fourth, I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
remember.
yeah,
Third,
third, third.
he looked, yeah, he could have really, really. I mean,
Oh yeah,
what did he need? More detail, and there you go. There's your winner.
and there you go,
You
and
know,
it's just, I mean, it's just unfortunate. I mean,
just tragic, tragic, tragic.
you
Yeah,
really like obviously the hit of that, and you're still not over that so
yeah,
tragic event. So you're thinking, wow, what a great loss.
yeah. It
Seriously,
really was because his personality was tremendous. My wife does not follow bodybuilding at all. She's not into it, but she would watch the podcast with Fuad and Luke because she loved it. They
yeah,
were so funny, and she
yep,
still watches it. The one with Guy
yeah,
Sistanino and Nick and whatnot. They're still
yeah,
funny, but she loved watching those two. And she would tell her, my wife owns a hair and nail salon, and she would tell all her
yeah,
girlfriends, "You got to watch it. It's so funny. This and that, blah blah blah."
yeah.
But no, it was very sad. But guys like James and guys like Fuad, they keep his spirit alive, and even guys like yourself.
Really do. Yeah, truly, they really do.
All right, so hopefully you're gonna win your first show this year.
Hopefully that's the plan.
I
That's what we definitely
I
hope
mean,
for.
I again, man, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. You really have the physique where all you need is some fine tuning and some size, and you could win any pro show. Seriously, I'm not even. You have the
Yeah,
legs, you got the back, you got the arms, you have the perfect V taper, and so it's just a matter
just
of
gotta
time.
just dial it in together and bring it all together. And you know
That's
what?
it. And you got the
Yeah,
right guy in your corner now.
and that's just it. Because right now, speaking to John yesterday, and it was the same thing. He's saying about this year. Come on, we gotta really go for it this year and really get you the Olympia lineup this year. And I'm thinking to myself that, man, it feels like it's been a long time coming. But I'm like, hey, I'm all game, man. Just tell me what I got to do.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
definitely, why not?
Yeah.
Everything we can this year.
Yeah, you'll definitely do it. And Samson, I really appreciate you doing this for me, man. This is a great interview. It's an honor to meet you because I'm a hardcore bodybuilding fan, and I'm a big. It's funny because it's like the general fan doesn't know you, but the hardcore guy knows you, and all the social media and the videos. It's like, oh, this guy is going to be good. He's going to be all right. And I'm always checking out the new pros and whatnot and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you doing the interview,
thanks,
bro.
man. Thank you
But
really
good luck to you, man, and definitely bring home a win and be in that Olympia lineup this year.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Yeah,
all right, so we'll see you soon.
Yeah, sure, man. See you soon. Thank you very much for having me on.
Later.